The royal tutors are a select group of gifted and wise souls, chosen to guide the princes destined to inherit the throne. Today, we meet the one who has been called to become a royal tutor. 2 individuals have been summoned by the king to educate his 4 young princes. The king has 5 sons and 1 daughter, but to safeguard the eldest from unforeseen dangers, he entrusts these 2 to train the 4 brothers. The king believes none of these 4 sons are ready yet. After a long journey, the 2 arrive at the royal castle, only to be stopped by guards who mistake them for mere kids. They try to present their tutor credentials, but the guards assume they're just the tutor's sons. Fortunately, the queen herself arrives to welcome them, clearing their path into the palace. They also clarify to the guards that they are adults. The queen apologizes for the confusion, but the 2 have grown used to being misunderstood, so it's no big deal. They feel honored as commoners stepping into the royal palace. The queen sees the king's choice as a sign of their talent, especially since most past tutors abandon their posts halfway. While the queen admires the love the king has for his 4 sons, the tutors remind themselves that no matter the prince's nature, their teaching will be firm and unwavering. Meeting the 4 princes, the 2 are struck by their beauty, like figures stepped right out of a painting. The first to greet them is Leon, a prince whose pride towers like Everest itself. Next is Lick, the youngest prince, playful and full of mischief. Then comes third Prince Bruno, courteous but growing cold upon hearing the tutors never attended any formal school. The second prince, Kai, is the quietest and shoots a frightening glare at the tutors. After gathering this info, the tutors want to interview each prince to tailor their lessons. But Leon refuses outright. He hates tutors. Bruno also dismisses the idea. Why would he need tutors who never went to school? Now the tutors understand why previous ones quit. Yet they don't care and won't back down, for the king himself has entrusted them with this mission. They vow to see it through. Leon demands to reject their lessons, hoping the king will send them away. But Lick remembers it's visiting hour and tells them to come to his room if they want to interview. Bruno leaves, warning them to be punctual. 1 second late means it's over. Kai seems about to say something but walks off, leaving Leon alone. So the tutors pull Leon along with them. Official documents describe Leon as humble, calm, and kind, but in reality, he's just the proud Everest prince. They ask why Leon hates tutors. He answers bluntly, tutors are like bell peppers, he hates bell peppers. He insists he's not childish, but honestly, he still acts like a kid. The real reason tutors only care about flattering the king's mood, never about him. And second, he hates studying. Every time he's forced, he runs away. No one can catch him, so he's racked up countless absences for skipping lessons. When they tried to talk about studying, Leon was ready to bolt, but the tutor insisted on giving him a test first. So Leon dashed off immediately. The front door was blocked, so he escaped through the window. But Leon dropped his diary, and the 2 picked it up. Inside were nothing but dark, self-critical thoughts Leon held about himself. He lied that the diary belonged to Lick, so they planned to return it, forcing Leon to beg for it back. But the deal was clear. They'd return it only if Leon took the test. If he refused, as the tutor threatened to read the diary aloud, cornered, Leon agreed to the test. Though lazy, when serious, he pushed himself to solve every problem. Reading the diary, the tutor saw Leon's hidden vulnerabilities and his aspiration to emulate Prince Bruno. His arrogance was merely a shield for his fragile heart. They invited Leon to a meeting later that day before starting lessons. Leon never expected what would come next. Amarche. Ni left abruptly, but a servant handed Leon a pastry with a note praising his effort, a small reward. Then Leon went to meet the second prince, Bruno, a genius famed for his brilliant intellect. Upon meeting, Ni effortlessly put Bruno through a test, and Bruno finished it in record time. Yet, Bruno wanted to test Ni back, claiming no tutor had ever been clever enough to truly teach him anything. Bruno challenged Na to a game of chess. Words like, "Didn't expect to meet a gambler," echoed, catching Den off guard. Not satisfied, Bruno threw more challenges: mental math, music, and even luck in gambling. Finally, Bruno handed Ne a test, but Ne not only solved it quickly, he spotted flaws in Bruno's logic. Pressure had overwhelmed him, showing Bruno he could never outsmart Nis. Ne noticed Bruno's thesis, read it, and grasped the immense effort Bruno had poured in, offering precise, insightful feedback. Moved, Bruno accepted Ne as his mentor. Ne realized Bruno was craving someone to truly cool teacher. Just then, Lick barged in, finding the interview finished. Lick whisked Ne away, known as an extrovert who often escaped the palace for fun and flirting. Lick led Ne into a room filled with several ladies. All were smitten with Ne's charm, and he found a strange comfort in being so misunderstood. Then, the ladies were asked to leave briefly so Lick could take his test. Ne gave Lick the test, but Lick, feigning boredom, kept asking the ladies for answers. Ne insisted he do it himself, so Lick muttered through the test while pretending to work. In no time, Lick finished. He was genuinely curious about who Ne really was. Everyone before had royal ties or fame. But Lick soon masked his serious look and welcomed the ladies back. Ne told Lick to come to the afternoon meeting. As Ne left, he sensed Lick was the one to watch beneath the carefree facade lurked a mind ready to act when others let down their guard. Next was Kai, known as Dangerous and a former brawler from military school. A servant said Kai was out, and few dared to speak with him. With just an hour before the meeting, Ne hurried to find him. In the garden, Ne spotted the royal dog who'd swiped one of his books. Chasing the dog, Ne found Kai asleep. Kai woke, grabbed Ne's hand, noting its surprising softness. Kai still saw Ne as a teacher. He often came here to play with the dog. Ne realized Kai wasn't the feared troublemaker rumors suggested. His fierce gaze was just his normal look. Kai struggled with social skills, but loved soft things. He obediently took the test without complaints. Their youngest sister, Adele, arrived and was introduced to Ne. Adele went off to play, and Kai expressed his fondness for Ne as a teacher, the first to truly talk with him. Ne told Kai to attend the meeting too, sensing Kai was friendlier than expected. He had been wrong to think Kai was the most troublesome. Ne decided to stop buying into rumors and get to know each of them personally. This would be his own lesson too. That afternoon, Ne finished grading with 10 minutes to spare. Bruno left early and met Leon, who had gone from defiant that morning to changed. Leon couldn't accept this and ran off. Bruno arrived at the meeting room first, with Lick arriving soon after. Bruno was frustrated by Leon's disrespect toward Ne and argued with him. Kai arrived and stepped in to mediate the sibling quarrel. In truth, neither feared confrontation. It was Kai's pure-heartedness that stopped them from fighting back. Only Leon remained defiant. Bruno decided to ignore it. Ne insisted on teaching only when everyone was present. As Bruno looked for Leon, he found him outside the door. Leon still believed he was here to see him fail, but everyone was already assembled. Everyone had reasons to like Leon, so Ne decided to give the test right then. Bruno aced it. Kai scored 87 and Lick stumbled on simple questions, scoring 60. As for Leon, everyone expected something was off, but no, he failed completely, earning just a single point for writing his name correctly. Leon was mortified, but Kai encouraged him, reminding that Leon excelled in sports. Still, the score was brutal. Leon ran off, ashamed, blaming himself. Bruno revealed Leon had hated studying since a harsh first tutor pressured him relentlessly, leaving deep scars and a hatred for both learning and tutors. From that moment, Leon vowed to change. He believed a tutor's duty wasn't to wound the student's spirit. Ne leapt from the third floor and caught up with Leon riding his unusual horse. Unable to reach the stirrups, Leon rode oddly. Ney tried to stop him, but Leon resisted, so Ney charged and gently knocked him down. Ney assured Leon there was no need to be ashamed of that score. He had no intention of punishing him. Yes, it was terrible, but a tutor's duty was to change that. Ney saw Leon's unique strengths and promised to teach him what he was weakest at. The same went for the others. He would prepare them all for the throne, no matter what it took. Before he could say a word, Leon dashed away like a fleeting shadow. I believe that someone who can see their own weaknesses, like Leon, has the rare gift to truly understand others, and that is a beautiful strength. Leon didn't have to accept it immediately, but if he agreed, Hien would help him grow day by day. Eventually, they accepted each other. But now, how would they get back? Walking would take hours. The horse had vanished without a trace, never to return. As night fell, Bruno wanted to search for them both, but the soldiers refused, too dangerous in the dark. The teacher and student camped under the open sky, unused to hardship. Leon grumbled endlessly and blamed Hien for losing the horse. After a fierce quarrel, they finally made it back to the palace before dawn. Hien was guided to his room, but the bed was so huge it swallowed him whole, stealing away any hope of restful sleep. By morning, they found Hien wedged uncomfortably between the bed's crevices. When asked where Leon was, people found him still asleep. But in the study room, Leon was already seated, waiting to learn alongside Hien. He pulled out a pile of books, ready to begin the lesson. The other three brothers arrived, their bickering relentless until Kai stepped in to mediate once more. Leon, meanwhile, dozed off mid-assignment, the exhaustion catching up to him. That day, Hien decided to teach all four about the lives of common folk, planning a trip down to the city. Leon questioned why they needed such lessons, so Hien told a grim tale of a princess who ignored her people, indulging in pleasures only to be overthrown and beheaded by those she scorned. Fear gripped Leon's heart, and he reluctantly agreed to learn about the lives of the people. Hien insisted they disguise themselves, so no one would recognize the noble siblings. Lick took the lead, coming up with ideas and outfits for all four to blend in when they ventured into the city. Yet, they were still clueless about which path to take. Lick volunteered to guide them, but soon gave up, accustomed only to navigating routes with girls. Hien then pointed out landmarks along the way, and since it was their first city visit, he suggested a shopping trip. Bruno dashed off to buy books. Kai headed somewhere else, leaving Hien and Lick to teach Leon how to shop. Stepping into a shop, Leon picked his favourite item, but didn't understand how to pay, unfamiliar with coins or prices, so Hien gave him a quick lesson. Still confused, Leon handed the money to the shopkeeper and let her take the right amount. She took the exact sum and handed back the change. Leon beamed with pride. He had successfully made his first purchase. Later, Lick and Leon slipped away to handle some business, leaving Hien to shop with Bruno. Bruno loved every book in the store, but had to choose just one due to budget limits. After much deliberation, he finally picked the perfect volume. They found Kai in the park, feeding the birds. Hien tried feeding them too, but almost got carried off by the flock. Feeling hungry, Lick invited the group to share some sausage rolls. Leon and Bruno struggled with eating without a table or utensils. Hien taught all four how to eat properly. Bruno found it awkward, but Lick and Kai adapted effortlessly. As evening approached and they prepared to leave, a thief snatched an old lady's purse, but the lady wasn't upset, in fact. She felt lucky the thief didn't knock over the young boy nearby. Witnessing this, Leon wanted to give chase. Yet, he was held back because Kai had already pursued and retrieved the stolen goods. Kai explained he acted with Hien's permission. In the midst of the chaos, the old lady expressed her gratitude by handing Kai a bag of sweets. She also comforted Leon for standing up to help a stranger like her. Soon after, 2 soldiers arrived to escort all 5, the teacher and his 4 students, back. Heine was curious about what had impressed each of them most on the journey, but everyone was caught up only in their own personal experiences. So Heine pointed out that the true treasure was the smiles and warmth of the people. Despite the presence of villains, the police acted swiftly to restore peace. This city isn't what it once was. Since the young king, the father of the 4 princes, ascended the throne, he has brought tranquility and allowed the citizens to smile once more. Heine urged them to strive to become kings even greater than their father. Fueled by their own dreams, the 4 resolved to become rulers worthy of their people. Back at the palace, Leon invited Heine for a walk, but they only circled around the stairs. Upon reaching the study room, Leon asked if his brothers had finished their work. Sensing the 4 were hiding something, Heine opened the door to find a feast laid out. The brothers had prepared a party to welcome their new teacher. They cooked the meal themselves and gifted Heine the things they had bought earlier that day. That night, Heine slept more peacefully. His worries about the princes eased. We learn about the prince's father, Victor, who became the youngest king at 18, a prodigy hailed as the war god for his unmatched talents. That evening, a servant came seeking Heine, announcing King Victor had returned after 6 months and eagerly wished to meet him. The next morning, all 4 princes gathered for the audience, so the servant summoned the entire group in. Upon reunion, the 4 princes respectfully greeted their father. Heine also offered his greetings. King Victor's joy mirrored that of any proud father, but now he spoke as a monarch with serious matters to discuss. So Victor reviewed the princes' test results. The 2 eldest were flawless. As for Lick, Victor knew boredom had led to him slacking off just 60 points. But Lon had the lowest score. If he continued like this, he wouldn't ascend the throne. Victor gave him 3 days to catch up to Lick's score. Failing that, he would be stripped of his succession rights. Bruno found this harsh for Leon, but recognized it was necessary. Leon felt broken, but his brothers rallied to support him. They reminded him that they must see each other as rivals for the throne. Leon wasn't interested in the crown. His pain came from disappointing his father. Heine saw this as Leon's stubbornness catching up with him. Bruno urged his younger brother to stand up and begin the 3-day training. He promised to help Leon with everything he could. The 2 others agreed. Now Bruno sought ways to truly improve Leon's abilities. Lick comforted Leon, pointing out at least he knew basic math. But Leon's reaction was suspicious. Bruno asked if Leon even knew the answer. He was stunned when Leon confidently answered 3. Bruno couldn't believe his brother could be so clueless. He urged Leon to rethink, but Leon's next answer was 11, deepening Bruno's despair. Heine attempted to teach Leon to count on his fingers, but when fingers ran out, Leon was stuck. Lick struggled to find a teaching method that would stick. Kai suggested using Leon's strength like track running as a foundation. Lick thought Bruno should teach since Leon cared for him deeply, but Bruno's lessons only made Leon focus on looking cool, ignoring knowledge and words. Lick was out of ideas and asked Heine to redo the test so Leon could memorize answers. Bruno slapped Lick down, saying cheating wasn't the way. Heine asked Leon if he could remember all 50 answers sequence. But Heine had a plan. He brought a plate with 6 slices of cake. If each person took one, how many were left? Leon promptly answered one solving the simple math. He realized using cake as an example made things clearer. Then Heine upped the challenge. If there were 30 cakes and each took one, how many remained? Leon answered 25, and just like that, a teaching method was born. A day passed, and Leon improved to 15 points. Just 1 day left before the test. Heine told his students to rest while he prepared. Leon began to lose hope, fearing failure and his father's disappointment, but Heine urged him to keep going. They studied through the night. The next morning, they faced King Victor for the exam. All watched intently as time ran out. and Victor handed grading to Heine. Leon scored 59, still below 60. By the rules, he should lose his succession rights, but Victor graded with Heine's leniency, adding 1 point for correctly writing his name. The room erupted in joy. Leon kept his place. Victor urged him to focus and work harder. Leon promised both his father and Heine to do so. Seeing the laughter and warmth between teacher and students, Victor felt relief their bond was genuine. That night, Heine shared drinks with Victor. The king was delighted Heine helped Leon improve, but Heine reminded Victor of their pact as long as no one learned about his past. He would continue teaching. Today, Heine had gone downtown, bought some books, and paused at a cafe. Inside, he was shocked to see the waiter resembled Lick, but the waiter denied it, claiming it was just a look-alike, and Heine thought it a mistake and let it slide. Meanwhile, Lick panicked seeing Heine here. He feared exposure and being rejected by his brothers and father, so he resolved to stay low-key. Lick was soon surrounded by girls he knew, but dodged them quickly to avoid drawing attention. Heine took notice. Lick asked the manager to switch his tables, but the manager refused. It was against cafe rules. The owner noticed Lick's unusual behaviour. Just then, 2 men started arguing over drinks, nearly knocking a coat rack onto a woman. Lick caught the rack, charming the woman in the process. Then he deftly resolved the dispute. His smooth handling impressed everyone. Both men left without further quarrel. One of them left a note asking Lick to come to his room. On the way back, a man dressed in white arrived under Victor's orders to escort Lick home. The others waited in the study and soon saw Lick being brought back. The 2 hurried to Victor's study, where the truth poured out. Victor had already heard everything from the Countess. Disappointment flickered in Victor's eyes, believing Lick was just wasting time. But the 2 insisted Lick wasn't playing around. He was genuinely serious about his work. Victor gave his youngest son a chance to explain. Lick confessed that, at first, he did fool around thinking being a waiter would attract girls. But when he started, chaos reigned. Mistakes piled up. Yet kindness surrounded him. Everyone patiently taught him. Slowly, Lick found joy in the work. A spark ignited within, determined not to quit. Lick stood firm, but Victor forbade it, fearing that if his identity leaked, dangers might strike before he could protect him. Lick, however, felt unloved. Since childhood, when sickness struck, his father never came, and, as the youngest, he stood no chance of succession. Lick believed his father only guarded the royal reputation, never truly trying to understand him. Then, with a burst of emotion, he fled. He arrived at the cafe, determined to live on his own. Victor and the others followed, pleading with him to come back, but their words fell on deaf ears. Just then, the cafe owner appeared. Victor simply revealed he was Lick's father and asked to work a few hours to understand his son better. Lick tried to stop him, but Victor's steady gaze softened the owner. Soon, Victor donned a sharp outfit, transforming into a captivating presence. Victor sought the others' opinion, but, annoyed by their stubborn streak, chose silence instead. The lesson planning was left to Victor's persuasion skills. Father and son mirrored each other too much, and since this was family business, it was best handled privately. Victor gave his all, while Lick waited to see where he'd slip. Yet, Victor excelled at serving guests and carrying trays. A foreigner in need was smoothly assisted by Victor's command of another language, and, with his striking looks and vast knowledge, Victor won hearts. Some even wished to adopt him. The cafe owner admired his work ethic deeply. Lick struggled to believe such a flawless man was the father who'd never cared before. At day's end, the owner invited Victor back, but he declined. The father and son stepped outside to collect the signboard. Victor apologized for not understanding Lick's feelings and for trying to pull him back. Now enlightened, Victor let Lick choose to continue or quit. Lick vowed to persist but refused to be a source of worry. Through this, Lick grasped why Victor never visited before. Yet Victor still came quietly when Lick had fallen asleep. No matter how busy, Victor watched over his precious treasure, his happiness so profound it moved him to tears. At last, their true faces were revealed. Victor promised weekly visits to support and protect Lick. If danger struck, the guards would arrive to bring him home safely. Heine and Lick stayed behind, later. Heine confessed to surprise, expecting Lick to be the most mysterious sibling, yet he was the most ordinary. Meanwhile, the Count lurked in the shadows, scheming to topple Victor and block any heir. Days later, Heine called the four princes to discuss a pressing matter. Take this for example, if a struggling jewelry shop needed to borrow money from the government. What would they do? Lick quickly replies, just lend it to them. But laws forbid the state from lending money to individuals. So this idea was shot down. Lion suggests asking the people for help, everyone pitching in a little until it's enough. It sounds a bit shaky, but Victor steps in, thinking this idea actually holds promise. Victor wants to present this to the council, so he asks Lion to write a report on the plan for him to submit. Hearing Lion praised, Bruno feels a sting of jealousy. Since childhood, Bruno has admired his father and dreamed of becoming a king like him, but many believe their eldest brother is the true heir. A quick breakdown: this family has 6 brothers. We've met 5 so far, and the eldest is naturally gifted, he never needed tutoring. Determined to surpass his eldest brother, Bruno threw himself into his studies. But now, he envies Lion, fearing his younger brother might also be a genius. Just like the eldest. Seeing Bruno's troubles, Heine steps in to talk. Bruno brushes it off. Heine then shifts to discuss the thesis Bruno is about to present at university. The thesis is tough, so Bruno seeks Heine's advice. Heine points out that Bruno is just rehashing his previous presentation. There's nothing new, and worst of all, the spelling mistakes are everywhere. Heine marks them all. He senses Bruno's worry, but Bruno keeps it locked inside, respecting his silence. Heine doesn't push. Instead, he challenges Bruno, write an essay on the changes you want for the country. If he fails in 2 weeks, Heine will no longer consider him a disciple. Motivated, Bruno dives into the essay. He's relentless, scrapping drafts whenever unsatisfied, working through nights until he sometimes falls asleep at the desk. By the deadline, Lion hands the report to their father. Bruno submits his essay to Heine. Bruno's exhausted expression says it all. He's poured his soul into it. Heine is blown away. He believes Bruno truly deserves to be his disciple. With this essay, Bruno gains the confidence to speak at university. He arrives and begins his presentation, determined not to disappoint Heine. Bruno pours his heart out. At first, no reaction stings him deeply, but then applause bursts forth, rallying support. Bruno's confidence surges back. Many invite him to present at their schools. Just then, Bruno's third idol, a professor, appears. Impressed by Bruno's speech, the professor invites him to dinner and offers him a chance to abandon the throne and become a scholar with him. Meanwhile, Heine waits for Bruno's return and sees the carriage arrive. Then comes the Count introducing himself as Josen, aide to the first prince. Josen fills Heine in on Bruno's meeting. That evening, Bruno wrestles with the professor's offer. The professor claims Bruno's chances of ascending the throne are near 0. His eldest brother is the most promising. He gives Bruno a week to decide before leaving. Bruno hesitates, still yearning to be like his father. Passing by, he overhears Victor praising Lion's report, which only deepens his melancholy. That whole week, Bruno's confidence is shattered. The decision weighs heavily. Heine finds him walking his dog and steps in. Hearing Bruno's troubles, Heine admits becoming a scholar isn't a bad path. Though he can't decide the futures of the 4 brothers, he urges Bruno to think deeply. Otherwise, when illness strikes later in life, Bruno might lie alone, haunted by regret. With clarity, Bruno finds his answer. He tells the professor he'll join the academy, but only after he's matured. His dream remains to be king, and he won't abandon it. no matter the odds. Showdowns. The professor respects Bruno's resolve and happily accepts. He invites Bruno to visit any time. After the professor leaves, Heine appears, equally impressed by Bruno's determination and eager to help him reach the throne. Meanwhile, Rosen, upon learning Bruno won't give up the crown, plots to eliminate Heine. He sends people to dig up information on him. One night, Kai seeks Heine's counsel. Bruno and Lion rush over with questions too, seeing all the brothers gathered. Nerly joins too. Lick wonders aloud if you have one beautiful but flat girl, and another less pretty but with curves. Which do you choose? Bruno tells Lick to get some sleep to protect the women of the world, but Heine wants to hear Lick's dilemma. Lick admits Victor wants to improve his communication skills, but doesn't know how. Truth is, each brother faces their own flaws. Lick is too unserious. Bruno lacks confidence to be king. Lion has no personality flaws but struggles with numbers, and Kai only has issues communicating with servants and guards, not family. For example, when Kai walks by, guards glare as if ready to fight. Servants look at him like they're cursing his presence. Kai doesn't say these things aloud, but others easily misread his expression. He fears people will avoid him and doesn't know how to fix it. The more silent he is, the more people fear him. The next morning, Heine plans to take Kai out for communication practice. Meanwhile, the other three bring Adeo to meet the girl. They claim they want to visit the zoo because the dog messed up a painting and the girl is upset. The brothers complain the zoo is far and inconvenient, bringing tears to Adeo's eyes. Feeling sorry, the group decides to take her. Heine thinks this is a good idea. First task, Kai needs to practice smiling. Heine's attempt is terrible, so Lion steps in. At the zoo, Heine tells Kai to smile when he sees an animal he likes. But when Kai smiles, it somehow looks more intimidating than anyone else. They visit ostriches, then bears. Lion expected bears to be cuddly like plush toys, but reality is harsh. Ao gets scared, so Kai comforts his sister and they all feed the animals together. Everyone is surrounded by animals, except Bruno and Heine. Kai lies down in the middle of a flock of sheep. Heine asks Kai to fetch more food from a staff member nearby. Kai wiped the sweat from his brow as he stepped forward, yet his voice faltered each time he tried to speak. Silence swallowed his courage. But when Adu cried out in pain from a rabbit's bite, Kai's hesitation broke, and he moved alongside. Everyone returned to A's side, where Adu finally made peace with the house dog. Realizing he had been too harsh, he softened his stance, turning his attention back to Kai. Hien encouraged Kai to try connecting with those close around him like the palace maids. Just a few simple phrases, the kind Kai might use to charm, and Hien believed it was a start. Summoning courage, Kai approached two maids and let slip a few shy words. Startled, they scampered away. But when one struggled with a heavy tray, Kai stepped in to help. From there, Kai lent a hand to others in the palace, but the soldiers misunderstood his intentions. Feeling he'd caused enough alarm, Kai retreated to lie down on the grassy lawn. A maid quietly came by, draping a blanket over him and placing a plate of lychee tea nearby. Fear held her back, and she fled quickly. Hien arrived then, revealing that Kai's insight into people's hearts was sharp, but he hid behind fear, worried he'd scare others away. Hien advised that simple words like hello and thank you could be bridges, small acts of kindness that might open doors to understanding and friendship. Back in his room, a maid came to change the bed sheets. This time, Kai chose to speak timidly but sincerely, thanking her for all her help. The maid's fear melted away, replaced by fondness. Bursting with joy, Kai dashed to find Hien and the brothers to share the good news, just as Victor's idea sparked in his mind. Later, they presented a framed painting by Adele, actually painted by Hien himself. Victor noticed a singed corner and suspected a candle had tipped over, pushed by the dog, not an act of destruction, but innocent mischief. Days later, Kai's communication skills had blossomed enough that Victor summoned him and Heine. Bruno had arrived earlier. And Victor brought up a troubling news story the previous year, when the brothers attended the military academy. A dark incident unfolded. They'd bullied teachers into giving perfect scores without exams. Anyone who resisted was beaten. But that nightmare ended when Kai was caught assaulting a fellow student. The press revealed the government had swept the matter under the rug. The brothers were suspended, the injured student expelled, and pressure mounted from authorities. Bruno insisted the report was false, but Victor felt powerless freedom of speech protected the press. Still, the fact remained Kai had struck someone. They wanted Kai's side of the story, feared by all. No one dared approach him, yet he noticed Bruno's frequent injuries, always excused as sore practice wounds. One day, waiting too long, Kai found his younger brother being attacked. Fury ignited within him, and he unleashed a relentless retaliation that landed him a suspension. Meanwhile, the attacker was expelled, the school rejected Lion and Lick, and Bruno quit in protest. Victor filed a complaint with the press, awaiting their response. Now Kai must endure whispers and judgment both inside and beyond the palace walls. Victor urged patience, while they also uncovered a report of a corrupt intruder sneaking into the palace, so Kai resolved to confront the attacker directly, willing to accept whatever came, refusing to strike back, but ready to face whatever trial awaited. The two decided to walk together as mediators. The loyal servants trusted Kai deeply, so he smiled warmly and thanked them. But that smile, though beautiful, hid eyes that could freeze a soul. Bruno warned them this was Kai's best smile, so they should bear with it. When they arrived, the two and a soldier went in first. The student, upon hearing Kai was coming to confront him about the recent article, agreed to a truce. But as the two went to fetch Kai, the soldier was suddenly grabbed by a group. When Kai and the two returned, they were told the soldier had already gone inside. Before entering, the three sat down to talk. The student claimed he attacked Bruno because rumours said royal family members could do whatever they wanted. He saw Bruno always scoring high while teachers focused only on him and Kai, neglecting others, breeding jealousy that led to this incident. He wanted to apologise, and just as Kai reached out to shake hands, the student pulled out a gun, his men emerging from the shadows. They restrained everyone, throwing the two, Kai and the soldier, into a wine cellar, blinding them. The student planned to extort money since his family disowned him after expulsion. When taking photos, the three mocked them, so he threatened to scare them into compliance. Kai remained calm under threat, but when the student turned to intimidate one of the two, Kai snapped and broke his chains. Remembering his promise not to use violence against the two, Kai stopped himself. The student attacked Kai, but the two freed themselves and blocked the attack, chaining the student instead. As they tried to leave, the student's men swarmed in. The two asked the soldier to watch over Kai. The two revealed their brilliance not just in knowledge and sports, but in combat skills, too single-handedly defeating all attackers. Dodging every bullet as if dancing with fate, the captured soldier returned with reinforcements, but it was too late. The two handed him over to take the criminals to the police. Kai, ever compassionate, invited the student to join palace guards and rebuild his life. He believed in giving people second chances, valuing knowledge and potential as pillars to help the nation. The student felt a weight lift from his heart. Days later, the article was corrected to the truth. Heine accidentally met Baron Rosen, who wanted to dig into his past. When Heine refused, Rosen carried him off, promising to return him safely to the palaces. On the way, Rosen claimed the princes had changed for the better since Heine's arrival, but Heine knew Rosen had been the puppeteer behind the scenes manipulating Lek's career, persuading Bruno to renounce his throne. Yet, this time, with Kai, things were uncertain. Rosen denied everything, focusing instead on exposing corruption in the palace. Just then, they arrived at the palace, and Heine stepped out. Back inside, they met Leon. He wanted to ask Heine something, but John revealed he knew Heine's identity that he once taught at a church. Digging deeper, John discovered an intriguing detail about Heine, calm as ever. Heine invited Leon inside, but Leon, having learned John's secret, chased after Heine, sensing this. Heine circled behind Leon to talk. Leon ran without speaking. When he pressed about Heine's church teaching, Heine confirmed he'd volunteered there. Leon wanted Heine to grade his homework, seeing Leon's newfound dedication and lost hatred for learning. Heine felt a spark of joy, proof of growth. Next was Bruno, teaching kids and Adele, when Heine arrived. Bruno admitted he was unsure of his path. Adele and the kids asked Bruno about his hobbies, love life, and favourite foods. Bruno's reluctance bored the kids. Heine joked, "If you can't open up to kids, how will you lead a nation?" Taking the advice to heart, Bruno became more open and connected with the children. Then came Kai. He confessed wanting to return to the military academy, but feared his father's rejection. He longed to reconnect and learn how to communicate. Heine urged Kai to convince Victor himself, not rely on others, that courage was a king's true strength. Finally, Lek arrived at the cafe. Heine saw that through this work, Lek had gained new